looking for the smokers. So right now I'm located in the smoking section of our little colony. They call this place Colony 1 Sea Mountain, located out in Pahala, still on Hawaii Island. Here, I'll show you some stuff here. Okay, so down yonder is the little places to rest, and over here, who knows? Tea leaf. So anyway, this might end up being a very short Mo'olelo Monday, but welcome to Mo'olelo Monday anyway. The only reason why I say it's short is because once more people come out here to sit at the table and the picnic table and smoke, I'm going to clear out. I did want to film somewhere on the premises here at the place that we're staying, but well, let me explain. So the first night we showed up and stayed here, which was a couple of nights ago. What is today? Today is the June 10th. So today's June 10th. So anyway, like I was saying, when we first arrived here and made our way into our little place to put our stuff down and check in and whatnot, it was strange. I got a very strange sensation come over me, and I hadn't felt that sensation in quite a while, because typically that would be the feelings I'd get when we'd be out, paranormal investigating. And so I didn't really say anything until my daughter made mention that it was kind of felt a little weird inside the establishment. So yeah, anyway, this tree back here, this tree is a very massive tree. I thought it was a banyan tree at first, but it's not. I can't remember what my wife said it was, but seemed like a very peaceful place to film. But like I said, unfortunately, it's a smoking area. But anyway, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so I was gonna actually bring up, because I'm on the Big Island, because I'm in Hawaii Island. I was going to be talking about the stories of Pele, since she's here, since she's on this island, and I was gonna bring up some stories from the past, but because of the experience I had going into our room, my daughter feeling a little creeped out, because I immediately had the heebie-jeebies when we walked into our room. And the night before we fell asleep, our first night here, I see this movement from the corner of the living room while we're watching a movie. And after I seen this movement, kind of was reminiscent of I want to say it was like some kind of animal, like a large lizard or a mouse or a rat or something. I don't know. I think so. Coming down the side of a chair, I realized that there was no color to it. It was like kind of a chalky whitish gray color. And I've seen that color before from apparitions, and so I already knew that it wasn't something that was real, something that was there. Because sure enough, I went to go look and see if anything was around the area, and I couldn't find any kind of bugs or lizards or mice or anything like that. The rooms were pretty clean, in the sense of having wildlife in it. So I never expected it to be an animal of any kind, so I thought it was kind of weird. But anyway, yeah, so what I wanted to talk about was Pele, since we were here. But instead, because our room was giving off such a creepy vibe, a heebie-jeebie feeling, and some information that I found out later, I decided, you know what, I'm going to talk about this place. So right now I'm actually on the east coast of Hawaii Island, and staying in a place called Pahala. And like I was saying earlier, there was some weird movement and the feeling of something being around inside our room. And the next morning, when we woke up after sleeping for the evening, when we woke up the next day, we decided to take a walk around the grounds and check out the area, see where the pool was and stuff like that. But it was really weird because as we were heading around the facility, and it's not that big, it's pretty small. As we were heading around, both my daughter and I started feeling tightness in our heads. I was feeling tightness in my chest. Again, these are things that I usually sense or feel when we're out in the field investigating or doing some kind of tour. These are the kind of experiences that I have, physical experiences. And so we get around one of the buildings heading towards the pool, and there's this small this small altar with flowers and a ki'i, which is actually a statue, a wooden carved statue, and on top of this wooden placard that was in front of it, it said kapu. And for those of you that don't know what kapu means, it means sacred or forbidden. And so people are not allowed to pass through things that have kapu. Yeah. Another word for kapu is tapu or tabu, as in the English language it has copped our word kapu into tabu. And so looking over this ki'i and these rock formations, there were tea leaves in three of the corners, not all four, but three of the corners there were tea leaf, and there were these rock mounds. I thought it kind of funny because I'm like, well, here are these graves, right? And right next to the markers in the grave of these bodies that are interred there, they look kind of shallow. What's a pool? So I was wondering, well, I mean, I'm making an assumption here, but perhaps when they decided to put the pool in, as they were digging into the ground, they unearthed human remains. And so that I kind of explained it. It kind of gave a reason as to why these feelings were coming over me and my family. It was because, this place is charged because it's a graveyard. And so that's something I kind of wanted to touch on a little bit when it comes to when we were ghost hunting and doing paranormal investigations. Now, one of the things that I'm not comfortable with is investigating in a place like cemeteries. We were invited on several times to go out with different groups to places of of rest, where bodies were interred, and not too comfortable. I'm not too comfortable with taking pictures and whatnot at using flashlights and just illuminating the area of a place where someone's resting. I mean, it's just like if somebody came into your bedroom at midnight and just started shining a flashlight in your face, made a whole bunch of ruckus and walked out your door. Then going into your sibling's room and pissing on top of their stereo. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of stuff that I would see people who would go on these different tours and stuff. They would just totally disrespect the area. And like I said before, last a couple of videos ago about respect, it's so important to have that so that you don't leave the area with something following you, ready to strike back or retaliate for anything disrespectful that you've done in the area. So you can't really get around too much in being in Hawaii, being an investigator in Hawaii, because unfortunately the whole island can be somewhat of a graveyard. People were buried. There were no markers above their graves, so there's only like guesses as to possibly where people could be buried. They're buried down at the beaches, the shores. They're buried at in valleys. They're buried anywhere there's soft dirt around. So this like all of the places in Hawaii, this place has a very strong history. Like there's something, people used to live here, whether it was a fishing village or what, because we're really close to the water, really close to the ocean right over here. Punaluu Beach is right down the road, not even a 2-minute drive. And even inside that area, my chest will get tight, and I'll feel like there's stuff around. This whole area, this whole eastern coast here is just it has stuff going on. It's very, very strange. And so to alleviate some of the strange feelings that we were getting inside our room, we decided to just stay inside the living room, shut the door to the bedroom, which is where most of those weird feelings were coming from, and everything kind of like cooled off. But like I said, as we were walking around the facility and we found the grave, I believe there were 3 bodies, because there were 3 graves. The stones were built up into 3 mounds. When we got there, my ohana did a prayer, and I thanked the area for us being here, because now I feel like it's an intrusion, right? Because even though this is a place to come and vacation with families, you know what I mean? It's kind of inappropriate, especially since they know that there are bodies everywhere. I mean, I could be sitting near bodies right now. And so the purpose of me being here, doing this story time with you folks right now, is not to pick up any kind of paranormal activity. It's to just tell my story and do it in a respectful way, so that this area knows that we are being legitimate when we come and we say that we're here to relax. And if they want to tell us something, if they have a message to say, they'll come forward and leave it. But yeah, we said our prayer near the graves. My daughter got emotional. She started to weep, and she didn't really know why. And it came to that, for me, my understanding was because there's a lot of visitors, a lot of malihini that come over here and just make mess, make rubbish, make noise. And with it being a place of rest, it's kind of hard. Yeah. For these people, they want to party, they want to make noise, they want to have a great time. But unfortunately, it disturbs those that are resting. And so yeah, I just wanted to express how much I personally don't like when we go to cemeteries to do investigations, because it's kind of like like going to a cemetery to find paranormal activity. It's very, well, not only is it disrespectful for the people who are resting there, but it's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel, right? You're gonna find something weird inside a cemetery because that's where there's a lot of bodies, right? I mean, what you want to do is you want to find places that that are supercharged with energy, and homes that are giving off weird vibes, or even strange activity happening inside the home. And those are the kinds of things that I find fascinating, right? But it all basically comes down to the fact that there are bodies buried all over the Aina. And whether or not you do or do not find them, I mean, shoot, you can kind of already guess once you start having paranormal activity inside your home that there's stuff going on. But yeah, so those bodies near the pool made me think, oh, probably dug up the pool trying to make something nice for the guests, the visitors, and ended up finding the bones and having to put them on the outside of the perimeter of the pool, and then lining it with tea leaf. But we got some tea leaf over here too, so it's like, it's this, most of the property, no more tea leaf, mostly is decorative flowers and decorative palms. And right over here got this group of tea leaves. So I can only imagine that if any other remains were found, they were probably put back here at the very far end of the perimeter of the property. But yeah, so cemeteries. It's a touchy subject. Like I said, you're gonna find paranormal activity at a cemetery. Now, whether or not you want to go and disrupt a person's rest, I mean, that's up to you, right? But imagine if it was something that was happening to you. Imagine you were at home trying to rest and somebody walks into your house and sits down inside your living room, blocks your TV, and just starts conducting their business. Whether it's, trying to communicate with you and they can't, or whether it's practicing their mandolin or whatever it is that they're trying to do for their own little thing just to make themselves feel better. And then after about an hour, getting up and walking out, leaving a mess, leaving the rubbish behind, not tidying up the place. You know what I mean? That's the kind of same thing that happens for the people who are resting. Yeah, it's like you don't want to bother them. And over the years, I've realized that flash photography is something that doesn't fly when it comes to restful spirits. They don't like that. It's bad enough that they stay where they stay all throughout the day until the sun goes down. And when their time comes to rise from wherever their rest is to, cruise the ground and check out the area, here we are walking in the dark, taking flash photography, irritating them even more, So, yeah, that's basically what I was trying to get at, was the fact that, respect goes a long way. If you're making yourself go somewhere like a place of rest for people, then you're kind of just asking for it. You're just asking for bad things to follow and whatnot. But Bugga's reverse lights is bright. But anyway, time is it now? It's about 6:45 in the evening. I did try coming out here to record earlier, but unfortunately there were people out here smoking, and like I said, I didn't want to bug them, and I didn't want to scare them off or anything, so I just ran off with my computer and I came back out and tried again. But yeah, so I'm just chilling, enjoying the area, listening, keeping my ears open for any messages, keeping my heart open in case, there are hurts. Because, there are. Some people leave this world upset. Some people leave this world feeling unfulfilled. Some people leave this world feeling treated unfairly. And those kinds of people, I think, are the ones that they take it the hardest, especially when they're trying to rest. Yeah, they take it the hardest because it's like, you guys had your time. You should be sleeping. This is our time now. Let us do what we need to do to find fulfillment, to find peace, to find that thing that we're missing, so that we can rest. And so anyway, I think it's talking long enough about how I feel about cemeteries, but we did actually a few times end up at a cemetery or places where we knew that people were buried. One of them being, what's the name of it? Oahu Cemetery? Yeah, we were invited up Nu'uanu side on Oahu to the Oahu Cemetery, and it was really interesting because the tour guide brought us into the cemetery, and this is my own personal experience. I didn't take any pictures or anything like that because, like I said, we're in a cemetery, but I'll just tell you the story anyway. He's telling the story, and as he's talking, something keeps moving from the side of my eye that catches my attention. So I keep turning my head and looking, because it's dark. But you can still kind of see some things, like the headstones, like the white headstones and whatnot. They're glowing, and so you can still see a little bit of brightness, yeah, in the dark. And this must have been about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. But basically what happens is the tour guide is telling the different stories about the area, which was really nice. I wasn't really paying attention too much to the first story, but as I got to the second story, it was about a mother that would travel throughout the cemetery looking for her missing child. I guess I can't remember if the mom had passed in childbirth or if the baby passed in childbirth or something happened. But basically, both of them had passed away. And so the spirit of a woman would move around the cemetery crying, kind of like La Llorona. I don't know if you guys have ever seen. I love spooky movies, so I usually reference them a lot. But the story isn't bad where the mom killed the sons and then are looking for a replacement of the son. No, this is more of a lost love, yeah. So the mom cries, weeps for the baby, looking for the baby. But so the tour guide's telling that story about the mom missing the baby, and I just keep seeing this thing moving. And finally, I would look, and I see this kind of light colored round shape, and it's kind of doing this. So and it's in the grass, maybe about the height of a cat, the height of a cat. And I see this thing just kind of like moving in the darkness. So I'm kind of focusing my eyes, and then it goes and moves behind one of the tombstones. And so I'm like, bruh. So at the time, I didn't want to be rude or anything like that, but I believe I was standing next to my boss, Wayne, at the time. And I told him, hey, bro, get something moving over here on the ground. I think it's a rabbit or something like that. It looks like a small animal. And so, but it didn't. It didn't look like a small animal. I kind of had an idea of what it was because it was about the height of an animal, but the way it was moving was kind of strange. And so we had moved over from where the tour guide was telling his story over to where I saw the movement, and pulling up our flashlights, we could see a headstone. And what happened was the headstone was it the mother? Was it the woman that the tour guide was talking about? And that movement that I saw, to me, it looked like a baby crawling, crawling on their knees and their hands. And the white part reminded me of a diaper, like a baby's diaper, like cloth, kind of glowing in the light, the moonlight. And it was kind of just like, it went right into that headstone and disappeared. And so we went over there to go check and stuff like that. And of course, it was close by, but there was no noise. We couldn't hear any sound of rustling or stepping or anything like that. And everybody that was there at the tour, they were kind of just standing there. They weren't moving. They were just listening to the stories. So very interesting, that a child and a mother would be looking for each other and finding each other in the afterlife. Very interesting. And it just so happened to be the story that the tour guide was telling. So I was like, that's some pretty cool stuff. That's some really pretty cool stuff. But yeah, so that was one. Another story about sacred spaces like cemeteries and memorials and stuff like that is Sherwoods, right down the street from where I live in Wamanalo. So Sherwoods, they're up the shore and whatnot, there are actually bodies buried in the sand. And what happened was my older sister, had gone to a beach cleanup. And when they had gone, my sister is a, she goes to go. She, like, if you're going to invite any of our family to go and do something, we're going to do it. Yeah. We don't like sit down, talk story, drink beer or anything like that. We actually go to actually do what the idea is. So if there's a beach cleanup, we go and we clean beach. So my sister was, going at it hard, picking up all this rubbish off the beach. And she's an overachiever, she works really hard. So she ended up moving closer towards, from Sherwoods closer to Bellows. And what ended up happening was she found this particular weed that was sticking out of the sand, and she had yanked it. But when she pulled it, she said she felt a searing pain blaze over the crown of her head, and it stung like somebody took a razor and just gashed her down the head. And so she said she had a major migraine, like her head started pulsating, whoop, whoop, whoop. And so she had come home and she felt miserable. And so when she told me that story, I told her, I says, hey, that area is Akayan, right? Is burial. Like, you sure you didn't go inside one area and start messing around someplace where there's resting? And so she goes, oh, I don't know. Like, I might have. And so she's like, oh shoot, I didn't mean to disturb anything. I didn't mean to do any harm. I says, no, I mean, that's kind of like what happens. A lot of people don't realize it, right? And that's why it's important to share stories and to talk about certain things so people know, so that there's an understanding and no ignorance or disrespect done, in a way that's like, oh, I didn't mean to, but you did. That's the thing, is like your intentions were good, but you still ended up, screwing up. So she had to make amends with what she did. She had to do a prayer. A lot of times when you make a mistake, you got to go back, especially when it's like to somebody that's interred. You have to go back. You have to pray. You have to take fresh water. You have to pour it over the area to to relieve the anger. Pray, talk to God, ask for God for His help to show your respect, and that you meant no harm. You know what I mean? Like my dad would say. He's like, when you guys pray, make sure you guys pray for anything you did bad intentionally or unintentionally, because it's the unintentional parts that we don't realize that we mess up. And those are the most important times that we actually need to say sorry, are those times that we don't realize that we did somebody harm. So yeah. And even with conversations like I have on top of these Mo'olelo Mondays, I'm not sure, maybe some of the things that I say also rub people the wrong way. Some people might feel singled out, some people might feel butthurt over something that I say about a culture, or just trying to bring clarity, and try to get people to be more sensitive about the things around us, not just people, not just the animals, but further. Yeah, we got to look further. The plants, the air, the wind that blows, the rain that falls, all these things can be disrespected, right? So we have to make sure that we are good in our hearts, but also we apologize for anything that we do unintentionally. That's one of the major things that we need to do. Take, for example, up at the Camp Erdman. Now, I talked about Camp Erdman a few videos back. If you guys want to hear some stories about Camp Erdman, please do go check it out. But one of the girls, I don't know why she was doing it, but she had her broom. And see, that's one thing that you would never think. And that's what we have to be prepared for as adults, right? You'd never think that a young child in 6th grade is going to bust out a broom and start sweeping. And that's one of the superstitions. I think it's a superstition that I may not have talked about during my superstition video, but I'll bring it up now. So one of the superstitions that my house was very popular for is we do not sweep rubbish into the darkness. Another thing, we do not spit in the night. Because we have things that move about from tree to tree, from earth to air. Because these things are moving around, if you were to sweep and dust goes into the eyes of those travelers that are low, if you spit into the darkness and it hits a person that's moving and we don't see them, that can bring a lot of pilikia. That can bring a lot of problems. And so this girl, she was just going at it, sweeping out of her cabin, and this was about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. She's over sweeping out her cabin. I thought, hey, because I'm sitting down watching all the kids running around like crazy people, and this one girl decides she's going to decide to play mommy and clean up. So I yelled at her, hey, I said, stop. And she looks at me, huh? I'm like, stop sweeping. Put that broom away. So she's like, why? And I says, because I said so. Put it away. So she puts the broom away, close the door. She comes over with a group of girls, asks me, Mr. D, why can't I sweep? I said, it's fine. You can sweep. You want to sweep, you can sweep. Just don't sweep at night. Especially if it's, we had found out later that it was a cemetery. Camp Erdman has bodies buried around the place. And although there was a kahu who came in and blessed the area, kicking up the dirt and stuff like that is just going to cause these negative energies to come back even faster. And then they have to call another kahu come down and bless the aina. And so I says, why don't you guys come sit down? I'll tell you guys some stories. So Kids all sat down, and I explained to them why we don't kick up dust, why we don't do these things at night. It's because we have people, well, people should be going down for sleep, and the other things rise from their sleep for the nighttime. And so it was very important. It was very important. Oh, dang, the night lights are on. But it was very important that I explained this to this young gal to keep her safe, to make sure that she didn't not, and before that she seemed a little, maybe offended, taken aback at the very least, because I was asking her to stop sweeping. But when I explained to her why, she, she understood. That understanding came into her, and she's like, oh, and now that's something she's gonna take back with her wherever she goes camping or wherever she goes hanging out. She's going to be more respectful. She's going to teach someone else who's doing the same thing at night, spitting, kicking up dust, throwing rocks, not to do those kinds of things at night, because you don't know who you're going to offend. And so to keep anything from following you, to keep anything from, putting a bad, feeling over you. What is it called? Like I don't want to say cursing, but just bringing about bad luck for you. Just protect yourself, right? And then of course at the end of the day, it's always nice to say I'm sorry, because if you have something following you stuck to your back and you can't see it, you walk into your house and the darn thing makes itself comfortable because it feels offended at what you did during the day. Like you cut somebody off on the road, driving down the H street, you cut somebody off on the road. They see that, they get attached to you because they're like, that wasn't a very nice thing that you did. Now I'm going to cause problems for you. You never know. You never can tell. Just like back in the day when we used to go to school and stuff like that, these foreigners would come down, these mainland people, call them howlies. The howlies would come down and they would cause hassles to us peaceful locals, right? And just they didn't know. I guess that's their culture, just speaking highly of themselves and being rude. They didn't realize that they were hurting anybody. But when they start messing with the gals, like especially the guys, when the holy guys would come over and start messing with the local girls, I guess they like them, whatever, they like get to know them, but they're just doing it in a kind of a rude way. It's kind of a mess up because like that girl, that local, has like 10 family members in their same grade level. So you mess with her whole entire family's going to be right there to protect her. That's the thing, is they don't realize is that we are such a small community. We live on this small island. You mess with one person, you're going to have like 20 people up your butt, right after school, because everybody is related, or at least everybody knows each other. You cannot get away with the same stuff you can get away with on the mainland. You mess with somebody, you're going to see them again. So a lot of people on these roads and stuff like that, when they act nuts, it's like, bro, you guys think like we're never going to see you again. Now, I can understand the guys that visit here and then they go home. That's their thing. They like do that kind of stuff, whatevers. But, bro, you can't do that kind of stuff if you're actually going to stay. You know what I mean? You're going to live in a place, or if you're going to actually spend a few years because you're a military kid or something like that. You don't want to mess with the local people. You're all family. I mean, that's besides the fact that everybody related in the first place. You know what I mean? We should all be nice to each other, regardless of skin, regardless of age, regardless of anything. We all beliefs, we're all related. We all come from the same side. The faster people realize that, the more peaceful we'll be as people. So, yeah, I think that's a very important thing to have is peace. And you can't have peace if you have disrespect, right? And so to make people or make peace, or to ho'oponopono, just like freaking the fourth video I made for Mo'olelo Monday, ho'oponopono, to make things right, yeah? Apologize. It's so simple. Sorry. Forgive me. Kalamai. Things like that. Super simple. And we're not talking just like, oh, sorry. You're talking about like from the heart, yeah. Feeling it. It's like, shoot, I didn't realize this, or I didn't know that. I wanted it more than you. I'm sorry, Some of these people, they just think like, oh, everything's a competition. You snooze, you lose. Early bird gets the worm. You know what I mean? Those are just sayings to make it okay. It's okay for you to, what's that called? To do the mea heva, yeah, the bad stuff. To do That's just an excuse. I even get the people like go on top of these mainland-made films of Hawaii, telling us about, oh, this is what the Hawaiians do, this is what the Hawaiians do. Sometimes I watch them, I'm like, okay, whatever. But then you get the guys up on top of the comment section, they really feel passionate about what happened to Hawaii. And I don't blame them, you know what I mean? I feel the same, well, I felt the same way growing up too. I was like, that was pretty dirty. It was pretty, you know what I mean? The people were treated dirty. But we weren't the only people treated dirty throughout history, you know? We were not the only people. But it's funny because my favorite one is when people say, oh, just deal with it. Cope. Yeah. We've been coping. And another one was, well, low-hanging fruit. That was my favorite. One of these guys said low-hanging fruit. And he didn't want to admit, I called him out on that. I says, low-hanging fruit. So you're saying it's okay to steal someone's home. So if I come over to your house right now and plant my little flag inside your kitchen and proclaim it as my house, and now you my servants, and you got to do what I say, and every time you get paid, I get a portion of what you make. Yeah. I get a portion of what your wife makes. When your kids go to school, they pay me, right? Does that seem right? That doesn't seem right to me. But when these people say, hey, low-hanging fruit, if we didn't grab Hawaii when we did, someone else would. The Japanese would, or the English would, or somebody would have said, why? Our monarchy had strong ties with the British people. The British were the first ones to recognize us as a monarchy, right? Anyway, so I don't want to get into all that whole thing, because it's like beating a dead horse. Yeah, there's a lot of people that were treated terribly at the hands of people that were trying to increase power and ranks in their countries. That's everybody. But just to have the ignorance of these other people who say these things, and they say, well, we weren't the people that took over the island. We weren't the people that stole your monarchy and stuff like that. It says, yeah, but there's benefits. There's benefits that had poured down from the original people down to their families, and it's evident. And if you can't see those benefits that were received, then unfortunately that's where the ignorance comes in, right? So the easiest thing to do is say, hey, you know what? I'm sorry for anything that I've done intentionally or unintentionally. Forgive me. Kalamai. That's it. Right? Try to do better. Don't compare yourself to others. Just try to do better by you every day. Just do something better than you were yesterday. Yeah. It's getting pretty dark. But anyway. Yeah, so cemetery stories. Let's see. Do I have another cemetery story? Well, I do have the story about Luahine. So I'm going to just plug my book for a short while. So Mo'owahine of Makalike Bridge, my first story that I wrote, was actually inspired by Luahine. And Luahine is actually the lizard woman, the Mo'owahine, that lives and takes care of the bodies, the ancient Hawaiian bodies that are buried at right behind Ulupoheao, or in front of Ulupoheao in Kauai Nui Marsh. And so my kumu, Hau'oli Akaka, he told me about Luahine and how she protects the Aina, protects the people and whatnot. And I thought that was really cool, In my family, we have the story about La'akea, my shark Amakua. And I have stories about how he takes care of our Ohana, his Ohana, because he's part of our family. And so I was like, wow, that's really something. That's really cool. I love these stories. I love these stories about the Amakua, about Pele and Kane, Lono, all these important people, all these important ancestors of our culture. But yeah, he told me about Luahine, and later on when we did an investigation, or actually, Wayne had taken us down to Ulupo and walked down to Kauai Nui to do a prayer. He wanted to do a prayer for all the bodies that were buried at Kauai Nui. And it was funny because as we were making our way down there, we could hear these heavy footsteps inside the bushes that were next to us. And so I was like, oh, bro, there's something following us down here. And so, of course, we're going to automatically think, oh, it could be animals, could be a pig, could be a dog, something walking. But when we had stopped, the footsteps had stopped with us after we had stopped. Shortly after we stopped, then the footsteps that were inside the bushes also ceased. And so we continued walking down towards the marsh, and again the footsteps started following us, and it was really cool. But my boss Wayne, he was like, okay, I think this is a good spot. We should do our prayer right here. So we stood side by side. We did our mahalo. I heard walking. And it got really still. The crickets and everything stopped at one time, it seemed like. It was weird. Anyway. So we did our little mahalo to... I think I better close this up soon. I'm still in the place where... in Pahala, I'm still here inside the cemetery area. If you guys didn't know, but anyway, yeah. So we had stopped, did our mahalo, and then we made our way back out. And as we were going out, there was no footsteps following us, but it was funny because I had my recorder running at the time when we went down and whatnot, and I had played it back when I had got home to listen, to the footsteps and hear the footsteps. And sure enough, on my recorder, you can hear but I could also pick up, I also heard what sounded like breathing. Like something was breathing into the top of my recorder. And I'm holding my recorder like this out in front of me. It's outstretched, right? And this breathing comes on like... right? It's just this breathing on top of my audio. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. And you can hear the footsteps. And then the footsteps stop after we stop. And then we continue down. And again, you hear the breathing again. It's just kind of like this buzzing energy. I had kind of like a zzz to the breathing. Like that. And right before my boss, right before Wayne can say, okay, this is a good spot. Right before he says that, this woman's voice, in this very slithery, snake-like sound, says, "Stay back." Like that, okay? Says, "Stay back." And then my boss comes out and says, "Okay, I think we're good right here, guys. We'll just say the prayer right here." And I was just like, oh my gosh, I got goosebumps all over my arms, goosebumps all over my face, my back. I was like, holy smokes, bro. I mean, if that didn't sound like a lizard person, I didn't know, man. And it sounded like a woman. There was only 3 of us there, and all 3 of us were male. So it was very strange. And it was funny because Matt, our skeptic science guy, was saying that perhaps maybe my thumb was rubbing up against the recorder, creating a squeaky sliding sound that sounded like someone talking. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a logical explanation. But of course I didn't buy it. It's not to say that something protecting the people in Kauai Nui is just my finger rubbing up against the side of my recorder, which I wouldn't do that. Like, why would I rub my finger up against the side of the recorder? But it's something that I may have done and not realized. But I've never ever done that again, or before that. I had never done that before, and I'd never done that after that particular investigation or that particular time we went out. And I just thought it was ridiculous that that one time I would be rubbing my recorder, and I thought it was even more ridiculous that the time that I was rubbing my recorder, I was able to make my thumb rubbing up against my recorder say, stay back. I can try for hours, rub my thumb against my audio recorder equipment, and never would I be able to get it to talk. I mean, that would be some kind of trick. That would be some kind of talent if I could rub my thumb and make something talk to me, rubbing up against my recorder. Rub my thumb and make something talk to me, rubbing up against my recorder. Check playback 5 seconds earlier for a male voice. I just thought I heard something behind me talking. We're getting some activity out here, people. And it is getting super dark. Well, underneath this tree anyway. But anyway, like I was saying, yeah, it's I thought it was logically sound reasoning. Did I believe it? No, not for a second. Not for a second. And so my first book, Mo'o Wahine of Makalike Bridge, was dedicated to Luahine at Kawainui Marsh and the work that she does protecting those people inside that marsh. And so I thought it only fitting to start my Aumakua anthology with an Aumakua such as Luahine. Now, the character in my book, Pa'awai, is not Luahine, and her story takes her different places. Yeah, it's a different kind of story when it comes to her, but it's the idea of giving knowledge, giving information out to the public about our culture. Our culture doesn't really shine as much as it should. Here, let me turn up the brightness on my computer. Maybe that'll help people see my face. I should have brought a flashlight or my phone out here so you can see me better. But yeah, respect is so important. A lot of superstitions come from the idea of being preemptive about doing things before something bad happens, right? What do they call it? Precautionary tales, right? They're meant to stop you from doing something stupid and getting hurt. Like, a lot of people need to trial by fire. They need to get burned to realize that fire is hot. But not everybody. Some people can just be told, right? Hey, that's hot, don't touch it, you can burn your hand. That's enough. And people will understand that. But, yeah. Cautionary tales are meant to prevent others from getting hurt. Like just making a stupid decision. Like, who would have thought sweeping after the sun goes down would be a bad thing? Some people don't know that. Maybe it takes effect in other places other than Hawaii. But as far as I know, living in Hawaii, we don't do that kind of stuff. Or at least my family never did. You don't sweep stuff out of your house at night. Not in fear, but in respect, as to not hurt anything that could possibly be walking by that you can't see. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Right? There's a lot of things that we can't see in life and that we realize, we know exist. Sometimes you just have to take it by faith and understand that certain people's beliefs are beliefs because they've experienced getting burnt, right? Well, I've never seen fire before. Maybe I won't get burnt by it, Imagine somebody saying that, something like that. Well, I mean, I've walked across this road millions of times. 5 seconds back, please. Check audio. Oh man, I'm getting chicken skin out here. I just heard talking from in front of me. There was nobody there. It went all the way around me to my back. Oh my gosh, I have major chicken skin. Ooh. Okay. I'm sorry. I realize that I'm talking about being respectful, and I believe now I've already crossed the point where I'm starting to be disrespectful. So ikala mai ya'u no ke ia hanaheva. ha'aleleau I kuhale. So I think it's time for us to ahuiho. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and check out the audio, these past couple of things that I heard, see if anything was picked up on the machine, and if something did pop up, I'll go ahead and play it over again to see if you guys can hear it too. Okay. But other than that, love you all. Remember to be respectful, and also, it doesn't hurt to say sorry for things that you did intentionally or unintentionally, just to protect yourself, protect your family, yeah. Because karma's a real thing, because that's mana for us, yeah, in Hawaii. Mana, it transfers, it goes in and out, yeah. Good mana, when you create things positive with your hands, good things come back. And if you guys are gonna do pilikia, if you guys are gonna do, hana lepo, that's no good, yeah. Just stop and just say kalamai, yeah. Sorry, forgive me, okay. But anyway, love you folks. Ahui ho. See you next time.